All right. All right, we are live and we are back, and today we are joined by two marketing experts from Pivot CMO, Sean and Daniel. Welcome back to the Growth Lab.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
Glad to have you back. So, Daniel, might as well put you on the spot. You're in a bus, you're about to get off. A merchant asks you, how can I get ready for BFCM or Black Friday, Cyber Monday? What do you tell her?
Yeah, there's a lot of advice, but I think the simplest advice is just be prepared, specifically when it comes to creatives. And I would even say just having audiences ready to go, because it's going to move quickly. So for example, we'll talk through a lot of ideas, but one would be have a creative that is specific to urgency. Sale ends this day at this time, but also on the back end, have one that says sale extended. In the hopes that it's going super well and you want to keep it going, then you're not still running an ad that says it's already over. So you'll already have it preloaded and you can just press play.
That's a great advice. I like that one. I think creative is a piece that a lot of merchants sort of overlook and maybe try to wing at last minute. So getting ready in advance is really good advice. Sean, what are your thoughts? Anything to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, I think having the backup sale is like a really good advice. I think one other thing that I was talking to a customer about is just making sure that your inventory and your customer service is ready to go. Because if your sale goes well, you're going to get an influx of customers, and the better you treat them, the better they'll probably buy from you. So I think just aside from the growth, just operationally, make sure you're ready to go. Make sure you're checking that customer service inbox. I've seen some horror stories where people start growth and then there's something wrong with the website, or they accidentally mark something for $0 and they're getting a bunch of purchases and people aren't. So just making sure you check through your site and that you're looking through your customer support inbox and stuff like that. Just being really prepared.
Oh boy, that last one doesn't sound like a good scenario.
Yeah.
All right. Well, so for today's session, what can we expect to learn from you guys?
Yep. For sure. So honestly, it's almost two sessions in one. I'll try to keep it concise, but the two goals would be, number one, I just want to talk through ideas and thoughts around Black Friday, Cyber Monday, or what we might actually call like Black Month, Cyber Week, the way that it's going these days, and how early it's starting and how long it's continuing. So yeah, first half or so, hoping just to talk through kind of month by month, October, November, December, what are some things to think about? And then second half, just want to dive into kind of an example account and then start creating a general simple structure.
All right, sounds awesome. So buckle up, everyone, and sharpen your pencils. Get ready to learn. We will be sharing a full replay of today's session, as well as all the pro tips and tools that Daniel and Sean might be sharing. And if you haven't already, check out our Growth Lab community on Facebook. I'll make sure to share a link to that in the chat, along with any links that Daniel and Sean might be sharing during the session. But otherwise, take it away, gentlemen.
Awesome. Let's do it. I'll go ahead and share my screen here. First, I was checking the chat. What's up, Karen from Tacoma? I was born in Tacoma, Washington. Super random, but hello. All right, screen share time. There we go. All right, let me know if you can see the screen. Can you see it on your end, Sean?
Yeah, I can see it.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah, so kind of just want to start with some general discussion around Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and just the fact that it starts now. We think of it kind of in our head as like a November thing, and then obviously Christmas coming up in December, and so October kind of gets thrown to the side potentially as just another month right before the craziness. However, with the way things are trending year over year, digital marketing obviously growing, and sales being extended, as I mentioned, October really is playing a role in Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and specifically in just preparation for maybe the craziness, hopefully in a good way, that Black Friday, Cyber Monday is going to bring. So these are just some ideas that I wanted to present and bring to the table and that we're thinking about as an agency. So First, kind of interesting idea here that we're presenting to potential clients and current clients is just the idea of a flash sale during Prime Day. So Prime Day, if you're unaware, it's basically when Amazon has a huge sale. So it's the 13th and the 14th of October. And the idea behind it is that people are already in the mode of let's get on our computers and let's shop. Let's find deals. So from our end, the idea is how can we take advantage of the buying behavior on these days, but almost use it as a test run for what's to come for Black Friday, Cyber Monday. So specifically, we might run it and call it a flash sale with a discount, a bundle, $1 off, whatever we might be planning to do for Black Friday, Cyber Monday. We might do the same thing or maybe something slightly below that as a test run. So let's say the 13th and 14th, we're going to do 30% off site-wide. We just want to analyze those results ahead of Black Friday, Cyber Monday, which may or may not inform us as to, number one, is this deal going to make sense for Black Friday, Cyber Monday? Was it successful for us? If not, maybe why, and how can we adjust and be closer to the mark for when kind of the Super Bowl arrives, the real deal comes. So obviously that is coming up next Tuesday and Wednesday. So at this point, it's somewhat of a scramble if you were to try and do something of that nature. It's definitely still possible. And if not, maybe next year it's a good idea as Prime Day becomes bigger and bigger each year. So one note with that would be you definitely would want to segment that from your normal campaigns. Let's say, for example, you're running already evergreen, top of funnel, middle, bottom, whatever the case may be. We would suggest you do something like a flash sale in a separate campaign just to keep the cleanliness of the results of the analytics. And ultimately, so your evergreen continues to run as always, because it's going to be important that that doesn't stop during these sale times.
Hey, Daniel, do you mind zooming in a little bit on the specific piece you're talking about, just because it's a little hard to read the text?
Yeah, let me see here.
Yeah, we'll send this out afterwards as well, right?
Yeah, happy to include it in the follow-up, and Hans, feel free to put it wherever you'd like. So yeah, that's idea number one in October, something that we can do right now. Obviously, this is specific for our agency, so it says start talking to clients and making creative assets. This is more for you guys. Start thinking to yourself and maybe your business partners about the creative assets that you might need in November. So I sort of touched on this as kind of an immediate best practice for Black Friday, Cyber Monday, but be prepared, right? So as I mentioned, we should have two versions of each ad, one that says sale ends this specific day at midnight, but also a separate ad that says sale extended that are ready to go. And I'll show you guys on the back end kind of where I would store those and how I would create them on Facebook's ad manager so that they are basically just ready to switch live. But it's better than thinking, oh, dang, this sale is doing super well. Let's continue it, and then having to go back, redesign something, create the new ad. It's just going to be more frantic. This way, you're ready to go if that is the case. A couple more ideas for October. Number one is that we are suggesting that we prospect a little bit more heavily in October. And you'll hear this, I think, from a lot of different marketers out there, is that the most powerful thing that you can have during Black Friday, Cyber Monday is customer information, because we are going to be retargeting at a much heavier pace, so to speak. The weight towards remarketing obviously is going to be a lot larger. And instead of trying to go out and prospect, where it's going to be a lot more expensive during November and December, we already have these customer lists of people who we know are interested in our products and that we can directly talk to. So if we can collect more of that information now, we're going to set ourselves up to be in a better position come November and December. And even if our performance declines slightly, we believe it's going to more than make up for it during those holiday times. And then last thing to think about here in October, I'm sure there's more, but is the idea of a potential giveaway. Again, this takes a little bit more time and effort, but it's something to consider, even if it's not this year, for next year. So one example would be, let's get together, let's take our top product and maybe, I don't know, like a special little prize on the side, and let's do a whole giveaway flow. People will give us their email, some simple information, and then there's going to be one lucky winner at the end of maybe 2 or 3 weeks or something of that nature. At that point, you've collected a ton of potential customer information, people who you know are interested at the very least in what you have to offer. You only have to give away what you're willing to, and then you can use those lists to retarget come November and December. So it's really important that we focus on gathering that customer information. So I do want to take a little pause here. We're going to move on to November, but before I do, Sean, I want to almost take a step back, and because I know a lot of people watching, listening, they may not even have started Facebook ads at all, and it's like, whoa, there's a lot going on here. Maybe tell us a little bit about, like, if a potential customer comes to you, why should they even start on Facebook?
Yeah, good question. So, I mean, for a lot of the Shopify clients, Facebook ads is a really good platform to do. And when we say Facebook ads, it's Facebook and Instagram are in the same ad platform. And then you basically have different placements where you can place the actual ad. So Instagram stories, for example, being a placement, and then, you know, the Facebook newsfeed being a placement. But the nice part is, like, as a whole, Shopify integrates very nicely with Facebook ads. In general, we see Facebook ads as a demand generation place. So you see people going on to look at, you know, pictures of their friends, cats, I guess a lot of cats these days. And we're using, like, audiences and creative, which is really important to really try to sell our products. So, you know, a lot of, like, the products that you have will be creative itself, like just the product images and, like, any creative that you make. So it's a really good way to ideally target very specific products to a really good audience and get, you know, relevant potential customers to your site, and then in turn make some sales. And the nice part is the Facebook ad platform is pretty powerful in that, you know, you can optimize on sales. So yeah, it's pretty powerful in that sense. You know, the other nice part is you don't have to have a crazy large budget. You can literally spend as little as you want, or as much as you want. So I think it's a really good way to start testing and start getting people onto your site. And yeah, does that answer your question, Daniel?
Yeah, definitely. Maybe can we speak a little bit more to, like, starting budget? Obviously, I totally agree. You can spend as little as much as you want. A lot of people are always interested in, like, you tell me, what should my budget be? It's going to be dependent on clients, but I know that you answer that question all the time. What are maybe some other things to think about when deciding on how much to spend for, like, your first month or so?
Yeah, so this is a question that comes up a lot. And when we do a lot of these webinars, it ends up being a focal point. So definitely I'm glad you asked this early, because definitely want to address this early on. If you're working with an agency, really, in order to get their, I guess, full bang for your buck testing and stuff like that, you know, I typically recommend you spend anywhere from, like, $2,500 to maybe $4,000 to $5,000 in the first month, which sounds like a lot, but the nice part is you get a decent amount of testing in. Ideally, you get some purchases in, and you know, it makes up for it. But if you're not going to use an agency and you're kind of going out on your own, I mean, you could honestly spend as little as you want. You could spend maybe $10 or $25 or $50 a day. You know, I honestly, maybe anything under $10 or $20 a day might be too little. You're not going to get enough information back. You're not going to get enough data to really start optimizing. I will say, like, there is a sort of leap of faith. It's not like, okay, you go and spend $40 or $50 and it kind of automatically starts working. You do have to spend maybe $100 or $200 or $300, maybe a couple $100 in order to really give the platform a chance to give you something back, whether that be in the form of like add to carts or ideally purchases. So, just to summarize, ideally, like if you're going to work with an agency, anywhere from $2,500 to $5,000 to like holistically test, ideally within a month. If you're doing it on your own, maybe as little as $20 to $50 a day or something like that. So, yeah.
For sure. There is a question here from Martha that asks, what about advertising on Google instead of Facebook? Any thoughts on which one makes sense to start with?
Yeah, it's a really good question. So we get this question a lot. Basically, the way to think about Google is Google's like demand and fulfillment, right? You go on Google and you search for something and you have really high intent. Like, for example, if I went to search like best dishwashing soap, I'm probably in the market to buy dishwashing soap, and like I have a need for dishwashing soap. And basically companies are bidding against each other to fulfill that demand. Two problems is that demand is finite, right? So, and there are products for which there isn't a whole lot of demand, right? So for example, like if you come up with a totally new like product category, like I'll give you a good example, like keto used to not be a thing, but all of a sudden, like, so when keto wasn't a thing, nobody was searching for keto, vitamins or supplements or keto diets. So even if like you had something keto, like there's no search demand for it, so nobody's going to find it. We tend to look at Facebook as like a demand generation platform, meaning, again, you're matching an audience to something that you think they'll like. The nice part is it's a lot easier to display creative, so you can use that to kind of get people to purchase your product. It's a lot easier. It tends to be a lot more scalable for e-commerce because, again, it's generating demand, whereas Google, there's a finite amount of demand. So we typically recommend for a lot of the Shopify clients that we have to start with Facebook and Instagram because of those reasons. There are exceptions. Like we do have some clients that do pretty well on Google Ads, but in general, like 95% of the time, I would recommend starting with like Facebook and Instagram. And if you think you're in like the, I guess, outlier perspective, drop us an email and I'm happy to talk you through it.
Awesome. Yeah, totally agree. Definitely a good place to acquire some customers, find people who are potentially interested. I'm gonna hop into some November thoughts. I probably won't hit every single thing here, but just want to touch on at least a couple of them. This one's pretty obvious. I mean, be prepared to increase budgets in November with Black Friday, Cyber Monday. You want to think about what expected return or what return that you can tolerate is, and which will obviously inform how hard you can push, and then maybe when you should hold or back off on your budgets. And then also one thing to be aware of is delayed attribution during Black Friday, Cyber Monday time. Delayed attribution, what that means is, let's say, for example, I click on an ad today, but then I decide not to purchase right then, but maybe 2 days later, I remember, oh yeah, that item was cool. I look it up, I go to the site and I purchase it. Facebook would still take credit for that click. Their default attribution is like 28 days of clicking and 1 day of viewing the ad itself. And so during Black Friday, Cyber Monday, basically the whole month of November, you tend to see more delayed attribution come through than throughout the rest of the year, just because there's so much action taking place on Facebook and Instagram, and obviously a lot more purchasing going on during that time as well. So it's something to be aware of and kind of check back maybe 7 days later on what your ads did the week prior, because numbers might actually be a lot better than you thought they were during that time. And then ultimately it might inform you to say, oh, actually I can keep spending the way I was. I don't need to pull back as much.
Do you mind zooming in a little bit again, Daniel? Sorry.
Oh yeah, definitely. Thank you. There we go. Awesome. So heavy retargeting. During November, like I said, for the most part, the focus is going to be on utilizing the people who have already been to your site, already added to cart, and even the ones who have purchased before. And the idea is now we're going to retarget them, hit them again, show them the special promotion or offer that we're running, and focus on that. We're out throughout the rest of the year. We're pretty heavy on prospecting. We're trying to acquire completely new customers to build that base. And then now is the time to utilize those lists as hard as you possibly can to see those numbers that are more efficient. Cost per purchase will obviously be lower for these people who know who you are, what you do, they've purchased from you before potentially, right? So as Sean, as you mentioned, I'd say one advice would be kind of down the middle right here. Maybe have a couple different offers prepared. Let's say you launch, you're super excited, you launch that's 30% off site-wide, but after 4 or 5 days, you're like, this isn't working at all. Maybe you have a $50 off promotion already ready to go in terms of creatives, in terms of easily switching maybe some of the messaging on the site, and then just a plan B, right? Because let's say that first one doesn't work, you're going to be scrambling to come up with something else. But those of you who are prepared will be calm and collected, and hopefully find obviously a lot more success with whatever the plan B is. And if not, at least you tried, right? One last thing I want to mention here from November is the idea of bundling. So oftentimes we're running higher discounts than we want to potentially. Average might be anywhere from 20 on the lower end up to like 40 or even like 50 off sometimes. Your AOV is going to go down because a lot of your margin is getting cut into with this heavy discounting. So we would suggest, again, let's bundle some of our best things together. Price goes up, but the discount's also still steep. So average order value hopefully stays pretty high after that discount, and you're not eating the cost quite as much there. So something to consider when maybe you're hesitant to run like a full 40 off of everything. Maybe it's just a specific bundle. So want to move on to kind of our last month, December, before we jump into actually creating some structures. So a few things to think about here. Black Friday just ended. Now it's Cyber Monday. We would say, no, it is not Cyber Monday. It is Cyber Week. So change your messaging to Cyber Week just with the expectation that it is going to run longer than one day. Most likely you will see success. People are shopping, like we've said, harder and longer year over year. So if you already have your messaging set in a way that it's going to happen for like a whole week, you're probably going to be better in the long run. And maybe it doesn't work, you can just turn it off, right? But we want to be prepared for that to go longer than expected. Also think about your shipping times. So Christmas is coming up. People want their stuff before Christmas. They want little Johnny to open the gift on Christmas morning. Think about how long it's going to take to ship there, and then make sure you're prepared to message in a way that says this date is the last day you can order for it to arrive before Christmas. And that's going to drive and change your strategy with how you're buying ads. A couple last ideas would be utilize ad copy that's around the idea of what a great gift it is. This might not be applicable to absolutely every company, but it should for most products. I'm sure you can find a creative angle to kind of show the gifting nature of your product. So utilize that in your copy, in your headlines, or even in your creatives if you can. I'll leave it at that. There's a few other ideas there, but I actually want to spend some time jumping into a Facebook account because I know we're already like 25 minutes in. So give me 1 second to switch over, and then checking here. Sean, how are we doing on the questions? It looks like you're responding to a lot of them.
We're all good. Getting through them.
Fantastic.
Good questions in here.
Awesome. All right, guys. So total pivot, kind of pun intended there. We are going to look at a Facebook account. So this is just an example account that I have here. You'll notice like the page that we're going to use is just totally random compared to the product. but obviously assume that this is your account. You have the page, the Instagram account, everything connected. I just want to show you kind of structurally how we would start an account, because I know most of you probably have not even started ads at this point. So if this isn't familiar, this is the Facebook Ads Manager. If you don't know where this is, if you can find a little grid somewhere on your business manager, you should be able to see then some different options here. If you just navigate to the Ads Manager, you should find yourself here. So we're going to click on Create just to make our very first campaign together. And it's pretty simple. We would start with what we call a master campaign. And this is the organization that I alluded to earlier of where I like to store advertisements that are prepared and ready to launch. So I'm not going to be spending any money on this campaign. Think of it simply as the ads are working files and finalized versions that I'm going to copy and paste into other things later. And that's it. We're not spending money here. So we would name this PLA, that's Pivot Labs, just to make sure we know that we created it. Obviously, you don't have to do that. And then master campaign. We'll just call it master for now. So we are selling a product. We want to make sure that the objective matches what we're trying to do. Almost always, not all the time, but almost always, we're trying to get purchases, right? We're trying to get conversions. Facebook will give you what you ask for. No need to get tricky with it. So conversions, make sure your optimization is correct. I wouldn't worry about these things quite yet. Maybe we can touch on them later. And then we would name our first ad set also just master. And actually, for the sake of, I guess, clarity, I'm actually just going to name it working files here, because this is exactly what it's going to be. So I'm going to save that to draft, and you'll see it pop up there in the background. Awesome. The ad itself, I'm just going to delete right now. I'm not too worried about the ad. I'm just creating the structures. So let's get rid of that. It says there's an error. There's not an error. Just ignore that and delete it entirely. So it should go away here. There it goes. All right. At this point, conversion event location is going to be to your website. You should have a pixel, right? So assuming that I had my own website and was selling a product, my pixel would be attached through Shopify. If you don't know how to do that, you can YouTube it. It's really simple. You create the pixel, copy the code, insert it in Shopify, and boom. That's why Shopify is so awesome. So here's where you want to figure out what should I be optimizing for? Usually it's purchase. So we'll see if that shows up for us somewhere down here. There it is. Assuming you have had purchases in recent history, this will show up as green. But if you have not, then it'll show up as red. And don't really worry about that. Over time, as you get more events, it will turn green. So make sure you're optimizing for that event. And then budget. So this is a place that you would choose how much you want to spend. For us, it's just working files. I don't actually want to spend any money. So just in case, I'll put it at $2. If I accidentally leave it active, I will not be wasting very much money. So we won't worry about the audience creation right now. We'll touch on that here in a minute. And we're just going to go ahead and publish our very first campaign and our very first ad set. Cool. So to get super basic with you guys here too, one thing that I want to mention is you have 3 levels within Facebook ads. As I just mentioned, we have our campaign level. Housed inside of a campaign is what you would call an ad set. Also, you could just call it your audience. And then at the 3rd level within your audience is going to be your ads. So the image, the video with the headline and the top text, which then sends them to whatever website or page that you desire. So for us, again, we're just creating ads to be ready to launch later. That's why I turned it off. I don't want to actually spend money on this. We're going to click into it, and then we're going to create our first ad together. It's loading there for us. Perfect. Ad name, let's just call it ad 1. Pretty simple. Obviously, you can name this whatever you'd like. I've seen some people like to put specific dates on it because then they know, when they created it. Maybe it says Black Friday, Cyber Monday, urgency copy, or you could say Black Friday, Cyber Monday, extended copy. And now you know which one to use first. And then
Daniel, do you mind zooming in a little bit? Maybe just hitting like Command plus. Well,
how is that?
Maybe one more. Perfect. That's good.
Cool.
Thanks.
All right. Then we're just going to save this guy to draft. All right. At this point, you're going to see you would choose your own Facebook page and Instagram account. I have this random page from college or something, so we're just going to use that for now. You should find yours already loaded in there. And then we're going to create an ad. So for this example, I chose, I think, like a random ceramic mug. So we're going to go ahead and find the mug. There it is. Awesome. Here's an image of your product. Or you can do a video, a GIF, something like that, right? So really easy. You can just upload it from your desktop, wherever it might be housed. And then from here, we're going to actually add our copy. So I have over here what I call our copy toolkit. This is just an example. We could also send this over, Hans, as a potential copy and paste for people. But the idea here is that our ads have 3 levels of copy. The most important one is going to be your headline. So the headline is what shows underneath the video or the image, whatever that creative asset is. Based on data, so I don't know the specific numbers, but headlines tend to be the very first thing that people read. So obviously the creative is very important. They're going to look at the picture, watch the video first, and then the eye naturally will go to the headline. So something to keep in mind here is you want to keep the headline under 50 characters. You'll notice here we have a count on the side. If you do over that, on some placements, you're going to get the ... and it's going to cut it off. So keep in mind for your headline, just think clear and concise. What exactly is the product? And we don't need to get too crazy with it in terms of trying to be funny or trying to be too detailed. It's just what is the product that you're offering, right? So for instance, would be custom handmade ceramic mugs. What's nice is you can sort of just copy and paste over. Here's the headline, and we can paste it there. And you'll see it on this example. Boom. Pops in. This is where the headline is displayed. Same idea here at the top text level. The top text is going to be kind of what it sounds like on the top, above the creative asset. The idea here is different depending on if you're prospecting for new potential client or customers, or if you're retargeting to people who have already been to your website. So for example, we have a retargeting version here. Oftentimes a review works well at the retargeting level because it gives a little bit of social proof, a little bit of validation to the validity of your product. And if it's a quality product, if people have enjoyed your service. So we often like to use our quotes here at the bottom of funnel. And at the top of the funnel here, or prospecting, we might do a list, like a checklist of the different awesome elements of the ceramic mugs and how they're handmade and where they're made, and maybe a little bit of the story behind why, right? And we're educating people here. So just something to keep in mind as we're creating copy. That is the description. You're going to want to put it at the primary text level.
Do you mind doing one more zoom, please?
One more zoom. You got it.
I don't think I did anything. Maybe one more.
There, it just lagged.
Okay, cool. There we go.
Is that good?
Yeah, it's a lot better.
For sure. All right. And then the description is kind of your last thing. Think of it as like the cherry on top to add in maybe a few last details, or you could throw in like free shipping here. I think, for instance, let's just do that. Let's just say free shipping in the USA. Awesome. Okay, and then you would link your website. So I don't have a website for my mugs, but we'll just put in google.com as an example, right? You would put in your Shopify store, and then something to keep in mind here is, and to test, would be like, do you send to the homepage, and then people navigate themselves to collections and to specific products? Or is this ad specific to this exact mug and you want to send directly to that product description page? Then you would put in the product description URL here, and then traffic, they would skip having to go through the homepage and the collection. And oftentimes we could see that conversion rates might be a lot higher if we just go directly to the PDP versus the homepage, but something that you can test. So we would always recommend that you use Shop Now as your call to action. Learn More would be probably your other best option if for some reason Shop Now doesn't make sense. But I think for most of us, Shop Now probably will make sense. Perfect. Okay. And then our last piece that I want to touch on here is URL parameters. So what this does is it allows you to track where where your purchases came from. So in Google Analytics, you'll be able to go break down, what's the source? So was it Facebook, or maybe it was Google organic? And then you can even see which campaign was it, which audience was it, which ad was it. And the attribution isn't always perfect, but it'll give you a good idea of where it came from on the back end. So we always recommend doing this, and it's actually really simple. You don't need to be like a crazy coder or anything. I am by no means a coder or know a lot about this, but it's super simple. So we just put in Facebook as our source. The medium, we would choose the dynamic version. So it's gonna take our campaign name and it's gonna implement it there. So Facebook makes it super easy. We don't have to type it out for each different campaign. Same thing here. We're going to choose our ad set for the campaign name. A little confusing, but then the last piece is just going to be the ad name. And then you made your URL parameter, and it's ready to go. So at this point, we're going to publish. I'm going to take this down. We're super zoomed in here. Perfect. The working file is now ready to go. So what I'm going to do in our audiences is I'm actually going to duplicate this, and we're going to create an audience that is for our existing ads, or maybe for the sake of this, we'll just call it our finalized ads. So we're going to go ahead and duplicate. Likes to spin. There we go. Perfect. And then we're just going to say final ads, or whatever you want to call it. We would actually call it existing ads. So initially, I just want to publish it, and then I'm going to go back and make a couple small edits. All right. So I'm actually going to click in here. There's a couple key things we want to do that change it from a working file into a final ad that is ready to go live onto Facebook. So we're going to edit this ad specifically. And as you're going through this, you can just double check all of the, each box basically, that the page is right, the Instagram account is right, there's no typos, things of that nature, right? So we would go through, we would do that. We'd say everything looks good. Okay, perfect. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to copy. So you can't see this, but I just did Command C, copy. I'm going to go back up to the top. And right now it's in Create Ad. I'm going to click the drop down. I'm going to use existing post. You're probably asking why. Why are you doing that? The reason for this is when you switch from Create Ad into Use Existing Post, basically it does two things. Number one, it locks everything into place. Once I publish this, I will no longer be able to go back and edit it. I will not be able to change the copy, the headline, the image, anything. It's locked. But also, and probably more importantly, it's going to collect all of the engagement as a whole. Meaning, if I took this ad and I sent it to an audience interested in mugs, and I also sent it to an audience that was a lookalike based on recent purchasers, that if I got 10 likes here and maybe a comment and 10 more likes here, that all of that engagement would combine and it would show the 20 likes plus the comments all over Facebook across the various placements. Whereas if I didn't do that, they individually would collect engagement, which ultimately shows, if you were to do that less social proof, it looks more fake, right? So once you collect likes, loves, the hug, heart things, whatever all the options are on Facebook these days, and comments, your ad is gonna look more legit, right? So that's why we do that, but you have to copy and now paste those parameters back in. I'm gonna go ahead and then publish this. Perfect. So to reiterate, what we just did was create an organization method for where our ads will live and how we will create new ones in the future. So let's say that we put this mug live into our different audiences. It does really well, but we want to test a slightly different image. I would go back to my master campaign. I would go back to my working files, and now I can still duplicate this one, and I can edit little small things, change it up, and then I can copy and paste it over to my finalized ads, do the same process I just showed you, and now you have a new ad that you can easily just Command C copy, Command V paste into your ads, into your campaigns that are actually spending money. So I know that that's kind of a lot to wrap your head around. I promise that once you do it a few times, it becomes easy and it makes sense. And you'll just be more organized that way. So at this point, I do want to actually quickly build at least one campaign with you guys so that you know what to do when you start. So I think it probably will make most sense for us to create a bottom of the funnel or retargeting campaign together rather than prospecting, since we're coming up on the holiday season. And since most of us are new businesses, we might just want to be spending a few dollars on retargeting people versus spending a lot of money trying to gather new customers, right? So let's quickly do that together before we end our session today. So one fun thing is actually going to the audiences and creating some audiences. So again, we would click on this grid and we would find our way to audiences. I already have it pulled up here, and you can see it's fresh. Nothing is in here. So if you're brand new too, you probably will see something similar to this as well. We're going to create a custom audience. You'll see your pixel here, and then you have a few options. So you can do website visitors. Obviously, you can do people who visited a specific web page. So quickly, if we were to do this, let's say not only did I sell mugs, but I sold glass bottles or something like that, right? I have two different SKUs, and they're pretty different in terms of maybe who is buying them. So what I would do if I really wanted to segment and get detailed with my ads is I would create a website visitors audience, but then I would base it specifically on which page they've been to. So let's say that my collection page for mugs is just name of the website / mugs. I would go ahead and say, okay, anyone who has been to the mugs page in the past 180 days, that's who I want to target specifically, and I will only send mug creatives to them. I won't send glass bottle creatives to them. And then you just name your audience. We'll say website custom audience, 180 days, specific to mugs. Your pixel will probably be green if you have traffic, and you'll have some more options down here. You'll have options to create purchaser lists. You'll have options to create an add to cart specific list, maybe even an initiate checkout list if that's a step that you have as well. So you'll want to look at the different events that you have available to you. For us, we'll stick with this for now and create. Awesome. It's as simple as that. It will populate, but you can go ahead and now go back to your ad manager and you can use it. I do quickly want to show you how to create a lookalike audience. It's very easy. So let's say that we wanted to find other people who are similar to the people who have gone to the mugs page. I can just click on it, look for the little 3 dots, create a lookalike. And we want it to be United States specific. So you'll select your region there. Quickly about lookalikes. So again, the idea of a lookalike is to take a seed audience and then find other people who are similar to them. So the most powerful way to probably do this was if we had a list of, let's say, like 1,000 or maybe 1,500 people who have bought mugs from us, we could upload that specific list or do it with a pixel. And we could tell Facebook, go find people that look as closely related to my purchasers as you can. And it's a really powerful way to potentially go find new customers, right? You have different options here from 0 to 10% of how likely or how closely they relate to that initial audience. So 1% is your most powerful lookalike audience, 10% is your least powerful, but it could still work, right? So generally, I would stick to 1. You can test 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way up to 10 if you want. 1 is going to be your most powerful. And you can have that audience preloaded in case you do ever want to try to prospect and find new potential customers. Awesome. I'll pause for a second. I'll look. Okay, Sean, looks like you're still answering some questions here, which is great.
Yep.
Perfect. All right, so now let's get to the fun part. Let's create our bottom of funnel retargeting campaign. Again, this should look familiar. We just did this. We're going to name this PLA, and we're going to say retargeting. You can name it bottom of funnel, remarketing, whatever you really want. Those are probably the most common ones. Again, objective, we want people to buy things. So conversions, for sure, conversions. I won't dive too deeply into this, but I want to mention that if you guys have a catalog via Shopify, maybe you're using something like Flexify. I'll just mention the name Flexify. We like it a lot at our agency. It'll create a product feed for you. You can connect it to Facebook and do catalog sales. Look it up. It's very powerful. But you would want to choose catalog sales and then use your catalog to remarket people. So one example would be if I went to my mugs website and I looked specifically at the large size ceramic mug, that I could use this catalog to then retarget myself with the exact mug that I looked at. So it won't just be kind of like random products. It'll be specific to what I already viewed or maybe what I already added to cart. And it tends to be the lowest hanging fruit that you have as a marketer to go find those people who have already shown interest in specific products. So just wanted to mention that as something to definitely look into. For us, we're going to stick with conversions, and then we're going to go ahead and say this is our WCA 180-day audience, and it's specifically people that went to the mugs page. And then we're going to save it to draft. Awesome. Again, it likes to show this error at the ad level. I will always just go to these 3 dots and just delete it. I just don't like looking at the red thing and telling me that I did something wrong when that's not the case. So I get rid of it for now. And the great thing about it is we already have our ad ready to go. We did that whole process of putting it in our working files and our final ads. And so we can copy and paste it super easily once we're done with this. So now I'm at the campaign level. I just want to double check that I did things right here. Yep, conversions, that looks good. Campaign budget optimization, basically this allows Facebook to decide how to distribute your budget. So if I was running 2 audiences, I was running the one that we created for mugs, and maybe I was also running one for people who have added the mugs to cart in the past 30 days or so. Facebook would then decide based on traffic that day, meaning how many of those people are on Facebook that day, how to distribute your money to show ads to those people, rather than you trying to figure out, well, I should spend $20 on the add to carts today and $60 on the website visitors. You're more so guessing, whereas Facebook's AI has a lot more information that we don't. So generally, we would say use campaign budget optimization if you're running more than one audience in the campaign. So just for fun, we'll throw it on there. And this is where you can put your budget. This is your daily budget. We'll leave it at 20 for now. And then I will click down into our audience level. And again, we're just double checking things. It's pretty simple here. Website, that is correct. My pixel. And then again, what are we trying to optimize for? We want purchases. So we'll go find purchases. In your case, if you have traffic and people are already buying, it probably will be green already. If not, that's okay. Awesome. And this is where you create your audience specifically. So we made a custom audience. We know that. And it just, boom, it popped up for us. This is the audience that we want to target. However, I would say you also are going to want to exclude people here. So we did not make an audience for this, but you will want to go ahead and create an audience for people who have purchased mugs in the past 180 days, and you will exclude it here at this level. That way you're not wasting money potentially on people who have already taken the action that you wanted them to. You're specifically going to be hitting the people who have been to the mugs page but have not purchased. So you would add that as an exclusion. And then you can check these other levels, right? Maybe your product is very specific to one gender and it doesn't even make sense at all to target males. It's just females. Then this is where you could edit that. I'll show you this quickly as well. If you're prospecting and you're looking for potential customers, this is where you would go in and say, I want to find people who are interested in mugs. Oh, there's a mug interest group. Click on it. And we notice here there's almost 32 million people who have shown interest in mugs. And that's where you would input your, what we would call an interest audience. We'll take it away because we're not doing that right now. Awesome, this all looks good. We're gonna go ahead and publish. And we're almost done. The last thing we wanna do then is to go find our ad and we're gonna copy and paste it in. Super simple. That is active. Just for the sake of not actually wanting to spend money, I'm going to turn that off. Perfect. So this is the fun part, super easy. You've done all the work on the back end. You're going to click back into your master campaign, your finalized advertisements. I'm going to click here. You can duplicate, but an easier way to do it is just Command C. You just copied it. Go back to your campaigns. Can click into our bottom funnel audience. I'm going to click on it, Command V, paste. It might be different if you're using if you're not using a Mac, I'm not sure. And then I'm going to get rid of like the copy part because that's not necessary. You can take one final look if you'd like, but it should be ready to go. And then you go ahead and publish. And then at this point, your ad will go into review. Facebook will make sure that all the content is appropriate, and then it will start spending money. And now you're retargeting people who have gone to your mugs page. So as a last note, what I would say is, obviously this isn't a full funnel structure. Normally we would have a prospecting or a top of funnel where a lot of our budget would be going, probably like a 70% split between prospecting, and then the other 30 is going to be going to retargeting, excuse me, and re-engagement. So other audiences to think about would be, who is a potential new customer? Let's find some interests that I could target. If I have enough clients, I would keep saying clients, customers already, I could create a lookalike off of them and test that in my top of funnel campaign. And then also, you might already have people who follow you on Instagram or your Facebook page, or who have engaged with different posts or ads. You can re-engage with them at what we would say is like the middle of the funnel. So people who, again, who have liked your pages, or maybe they've viewed a certain percentage of your video content, then you could show them other ads as well. So this is only one piece of the puzzle, but it's a very important piece, and hopefully that is helpful to you guys. If you have questions, I'm sure you can drop them in the chat right now, or reach out to myself or Sean, and we're happy to follow up with more information, since I know this was just a piece of the pie, really. So I'll go ahead and check any other questions here.
No big questions so far. Yeah, no big questions so far. I was talking to Hans, and I did want to go over how to install the Facebook pixel into Shopify, because I think that's pretty important. So I'm actually just going to pull up an account really quick.
Sweet. Here, you want me to end the screen share on my end?
Sure. Just give me 1 sec. Let me find one that we're able to show.
Yeah, that sounds good. I see a question here that I can address. Is it like dynamic creative? So I'm not sure exactly what that was referring to, but no, this was not a dynamic creative. So a dynamic creative test would be where you actually go in, and I can show you here. It's within the audience. We would have to choose specifically dynamic creative, and you would turn that on. I can't do it because we've already published. But what's cool about dynamic creatives is you can put in like up to 5, I believe, creatives, right? So images, videos, GIFs, whatever the case may be. You can also put in up to like 5 headlines, top texts, descriptions, and Facebook will then go out. It will do custom combinations of all of the different variations you put in there. And then you can actually break down by performance which headline did the best, which creative did the best, which top text did the best. We wouldn't recommend it for brand new accounts unless you're spending quite a bit of money. So you kind of have to think about it as in, what's my budget? How many audiences is it going to? And then how many variations of ads is it going to? And then how thin did that just get? If I'm only doing $50 a day on 2 audiences, now we're down to 25 on at 5 variations of ads. I don't even know where we're at that point, like $5 per creative. It's gonna take you weeks, if not months, to thoroughly learn which asset actually did well, just because you're getting such limited data. So if you have a high budget, I think it's an awesome thing to do, and you can learn from it a lot. But if you're on the lower end on the budget, I wouldn't recommend it.
So really quick before we go into the rest of the questions, I'm gonna just share my screen, and then I'll walk you guys through. Let's see. So how to do the pixel installation is pretty easy. So you just log into your Shopify site, and then on the left-hand side, you go to Online Store. So you just click Online Store, and then you go to Preferences. And then all you need to do is scroll down here, and you'll see where it says Facebook Pixel ID. All you'll need to do is grab the Pixel ID from the Facebook Business Manager that Daniel was showing you earlier, and you just paste it here, and then you're good to go. Shopify has made it really simple in order to do that. So that's where you'll start getting data into the pixel, and you can do your retargeting, which is pretty important for this time of the year. But I'll stop there, and then I know there's a bunch of questions in the chat. So we'll go through this really quickly. But Daniel, do you want to talk about some of these questions?
Yeah, so I'm just looking here. Can you make your screen bigger? Sorry, I cannot anymore. Let's see.
I think a good question, how long should you run an ad before you see true results?
Yeah, this is a good question. So normally we would say, if you have any idea in any history with Facebook, so that might not be the case for a lot of us, but let's say that we did, for example, and we know historically what our cost per purchase is, then we would say at least do 1 to 2x what that cost per purchase is on a specific ad before you decide that it's not good or that it is good. Meaning, if my historical cost per purchase is $25, I would allow Facebook to spend at least $25, if not $50 on a specific advertisement before I say it's good or not good. And obviously you then have to look at, has it gotten any purchases? If so, what is the cost per purchase? What is my return on ad spend? And if not, is the click-through rate really good? Just the back-end metrics as a whole to decide yourself if it's worth spending more money on or just shutting off and allowing Facebook to spend on something else. If you don't know and you have no historical data of what like cost per purchase should be, I would probably start anchoring a little bit more towards like the cost of what your product is, or maybe the average order value as like a starting point. So maybe your product costs, again, like $25. Maybe that can be your starting point to start killing things. And then as you collect data, you can then adjust if the metrics show something that you didn't expect.
Cool. Question here, if you spend a large daily budget, is it a good idea to use bid cap or just let it run by lowest cost?
Yeah, I guess I would ask what is a large daily budget? So for the most part, this is like a ballpark. If you were spending maybe only $5,000 to $10,000 per month or so, we generally wouldn't recommend a bid cap or a cost cap. Actually, for instance, we almost never recommend bid cap. We would recommend cost cap instead. And the difference there is that cost cap allows a little bit of flexibility. So Facebook will try to target a specific action for a specific cost, but it'll have like a 30% wiggle room to go up. And so in general, we would say that that's better because you will collect more data that way, whereas bid cap is much more strict. So we almost never use bid cap. But yeah, if you're spending like maybe 20,000 or more per month, that's when a lot of our accounts start utilizing cost caps. One last thing on that, there's a lot to be said about that actually, but if you're not really getting the efficiency that you want, say on the bottom of funnel, we actually have started implementing some cost caps at the bottom of funnel, just to allow for a little extra efficiency. So we're cutting and trimming a little bit of the fat there, and it's not really limiting spend. So we put it pretty high at the bottom of funnel, but hopefully it cuts a little bit of the fat and you're getting more efficiency there. So if that's the case for you, I think it's definitely worth testing.
Yeah, one more thing that I'll quickly share is the Facebook ads library. So I'm going to share my screen one more time, but if you actually Google Facebook ads library, it's usually the first result. So this is a really good way to think about creative. So you'll need to select search all, but you could look at some of your like competitor brands or something like that. So I don't know, like what's a big brand, like 24-hour fitness or something like that. We can see if they're running ads, and then B, like kind of, so these are all the ads that 24-hour fitness is currently running. You can kind of get an idea of like what the ads look like. Ooh, that's really loud. And just get some ideas. So, if you're selling like a specific piece of clothing or something like that, you could go on and look here. Like, for example, if your brand is like Old Navy or something like that, you can go to the Old Navy account and just see what kind of ads they're running and just get some ideas for creative or ad type. So this is like a product. So yeah, this is a good way to get some good insight into what's working and what's not working.
Yeah. There was one question I saw that was based on should you use like product images or lifestyle. And so this isn't always the case, but generally at the top of funnel, you probably want to use your creative assets that stand out the most. So like a product on a white background would not be recommended. It's an easy one to just scroll past and not really pay attention to. We would say something that's more colorful, that catches the eye more. So like the lifestyle shots potentially, or a good video would make more sense for the top of the funnel. And then if you do have just some more simple product shots and you want to utilize them, we would recommend doing that more so at the bottom of the funnel where people have already been exposed to you and they might not need to see all the flashy stuff like we try to do kind of at the top of the funnel level.
Awesome. Question, is the Facebook shop ad different than a Facebook ad?
Yeah, so Facebook Shop is completely different from what we're doing here on this webinar in kind of your more general Facebook advertising. So we actually don't really run Facebook Shop on our end as an agency, but I know that some clients utilize it. Honestly, I don't know too much about it. I wouldn't generally try to put all my eggs in that basket. I would probably utilize the further reaching ad structure that we're showing you here. Sean, do you know much about Facebook Shop and how people are utilizing it?
It's pretty new, so definitely like something that you can test. I haven't heard a crazy amount about it. I might hold off for a month or so until there's more information out about it. So it's one of those things where if you're starting out, like I think it could be good to set up a Facebook shop because free traffic, but it's not hasn't been super tried and tested yet. So you might want to just be careful. There's not a whole lot of guides on it out yet. So I would be careful with dumping too much budget into it right out the gate. But it could work. I mean, just something to think about, but I'm cautiously optimistic.
Yep. Awesome. Yeah, I think that's most of the questions I'm seeing have been addressed. I was talking to Hans beforehand. If you guys do have an ad, you're running ads right now and you want our opinion, and you can get to it really quickly, feel free to drop in a link to it and we're happy to take a look and give feedback. But other than that, I think that's about time on the webinar.
Yeah, and if you have any additional questions, feel free to reach out to us. Our website is in the chat on the side. It's just pivotcmo.com. You can LinkedIn message me or Daniel. We'll try to answer all your questions, or you can shoot me or Daniel an email. My email is just Sean, SHAWN @pivotcmo.com, and Daniel's is Daniel@pivotcmo.com. We'll try to answer any questions that you guys have, or send you in the right direction. But otherwise, I think this plus some of the materials that Daniel put together will be available to rewatch. So definitely encourage you going through it a little bit slower. There's a more in-depth one that we did a few weeks ago. So if you're just starting off a new, Facebook ads journey, I think that one we spent a little bit more time going through the account. So I'd recommend looking that one up as well and going through it slowly, as it'll give you a pretty good structure for going into the holidays and just getting to a good place. So appreciate your time, everyone.
Absolutely. Yeah, like Sean said, that one goes through the full funnel. So I think we did prospecting, re-engagement, and retargeting, and built out an entire account with actually someone from the Shopify community who allowed us to use their assets. And so that one would also be really valuable on top of this, whereas this one is more a mix of Black Friday, Cyber Monday as well. So yeah, we appreciate your guys' time. And again, if you want to reach out, please do find us on LinkedIn or email.
Perfect. Thanks, everyone. Hans will be emailing the webinar out to everybody afterwards. So just a heads up. But yeah, appreciate it, guys. Have a good one. Bye.